I was talking about the seemingly lack of purpose, of life purpose.
I think things have become so easy that we have these great big problems, the crisis of democracy, the crisis of capitalism, these sorts of things, which are huge problems. Our day-to-day problems are so easy. We're all really well fed. We all have endless amounts of entertainment on our devices. We're all constantly, we can access TikTok or Instagram or whatever's in fashion and just sort of scroll through it. I think we're all really bored.
There's no struggle.
There's no struggle. People are really bored. There's no quest for life as a result. And as a result, people are more and more like drones sleepwalking through life. There was a great film, and I've wanted to watch it, but it was a Wim Wenders film called Until the End of the World. And it came out in the 1988 or 1989. Amazing soundtrack. And in it, the basic premise was there was a nuclear satellite that was going to crash into the planet. No one could stop it, and it was going to end the world.
Okay.
But somebody developed a device that could record your dreams. And it was a small handheld device, little black device that you held in your hand. And people became so addicted to recording their dreams that they would go to sleep, they'd record them, then they'd spend 8 or 9 hours walking around looking at their device, replaying their dreams.
Really?
And it was this cyclical loop.
And what year was this movie?
I think this was 88 or 89. What I remember from it is this little handheld device because everyone started just watching it. And I think of that when I was in the airport yesterday, just watching everybody staring into these devices. And this is another thing. I come into my classrooms. 10 years ago, I used to come into my classroom and I'd have to say, okay, everyone, let's settle down, pay attention. Like, I'm going to speak now. I'd have to get their attention because it would be so loud and chaotic. Now I walk into a classroom and it's dead silent.
Is that right?
Totally silent. Everyone down. Head down, staring at their devices. There's no social connection there. Obviously, there's social media. They're connecting with friends somewhere or watching someone's feed of some sort, but they're not connecting to the person next to you, which is also really, really horrifying, right?
Sure.
I imagine basic in the army and stuff like that, they take away your phone. I don't know. In boot camp.
I don't know.
Yeah.
When I was in the Army, there were no cell phones.
Yeah.
You had to get as many quarters as you could get, and then on your off time, you stood in line at a payphone.
Yeah.
Right. There'd be 6 or 8 payphones down in a bay, and you've got 2 platoons down there. Everybody's calling home their boyfriend, their girlfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what they do. And that's a good question. Yeah. If they take it away.
That social activity, standing in line, you're standing between a couple of friends or maybe strangers, and you were talking probably about your girlfriend or you're back home, and there was a whole thing happening while you were standing in line to get to that.
Yeah, we used to it was big back then. We used to play hacky sack, right? So it'd be 4 or 5 guys standing around, and you're talking, you're playing, you're talking about what you did that day, and joking. And you're developing relationship.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, all of these guys that you're with are from all different parts of the country, right?
Yeah.
So you're hearing about where they came from, what their childhood was like, what they did, what they didn't do, their accents, making fun of each other.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
That's what I always loved about smoking. I used to smoke a pack or 2 a day, until I was 30 or so. But asking for a cigarette or asking for a light. You'd talk to a total stranger and ask for a light. Now we don't do that because we don't smoke, so we don't engage with a perfect stranger on the street.
Another interaction down.
Yeah, and all of these, but I think these, we're trying to figure out what's changed in the last 20 years. I said so much has changed, but it's these little slippages away from connection, away from relation with other people. We don't have the draft. We don't have boot camp. We don't share cigarettes. We don't, and now, I really worry about where we are now. We don't go to the movies anymore. We don't go out. We don't ride public transport. We don't see the last 18 months, my daughter is 12 years old. 1/6 of her life has been in lockdown.
Yes.
Has been separated, and she enjoys wearing a mask now. She doesn't want people to see her smiling. She doesn't want to see, and
that's terrifying.
It's terrifying. I mean, there's an aspect of being a young girl becoming a woman, and the expectation that they have to smile and look good for people. I understand that, but it's also terrifying that we're more comfortable without showing our faces. And that's so I feel like there's all this stuff. We're becoming more and more alienated.
Oh, I just got a creepy fast fucking feeling when you said that. There's so much in the interaction of the human face. I mean, we know that scientifically. The self-image, our self-esteem. To think that people would become more comfortable wearing a mask. I mean, it's bad enough what phones have done and social media to warp kids' sense of their own image, and work on perfecting it to some thing that's just literally sickening, or the bullying that has taken place over the years and the amount of suicides that have taken place because of the bullying on social media. It makes me wonder, what are the children of today, what problems are they going to have because of this that we can't even imagine that are coming as they become adults and we go into our older years?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm seeing that sort of on the front lines because my first-year students, the freshmen coming in, I keep saying, and the school has had, and I'm hearing that schools around the country are having a lot of problems with socialization with these freshmen, and it's because they spent the last 2 years in their mother's basement, looking at a screen. They didn't socialize. They didn't go to prom. They didn't have, they didn't play their sports. They didn't date. They didn't, all of these things. They were all socially isolated. Their interactions were all through social media.
Have you been hearing what the problems are like that they're having in socializing?
I have heard that a lot of schools are having trouble. Well, I know that students are not reading a lot. They don't feel connected enough to read a text or follow an article through. There's a lot of absenteeism. I know that a lot of people have dropped out or are not returning to school after winter break or spring break or these sorts of things. I don't think it's an epidemic of everyone dropping out, but I do think that we're starting to see these signs of non-socialization becoming even more profound.
Thanks for listening to the Successful Mind podcast. And if you like what you heard and you want to know more, go to davidnagel.com/free stuff.